up against their toughest rivals that just somehow bring the best versions out in each other, which is what we know with our two experts, our analysts here, Robin Uthappa and Matthew Hayden. Both of them in the past, as we will remember, have played significant roles in bettering the other's nations. But gentlemen, we will talk about that. We will talk about just why this is the toughest rivalry. When you have a look at knockouts, when you have a look at what is the more trophies in their trophy cabinets, and somehow just know how to show up, how to wake up. Will the real Australia please stand up when it's an ICC knockout event? It's time. It's the semi-final time. Now the real Australia is here.
Just correct me if I'm wrong, did you say that we've got more? Oh my goodness, it's heart failure every two times. Every time these two sides they meet, it's just...
Doing you a little bit today. He's kind of thrown down the gauntlet and say, yes, you did it to us, Matthew Hayden, in 2003, but we grew up watching players like Matthew Hayden and wanted to be just as aggressive as them. And that's why these have been the toughest contests that we've seen in the recent past.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Hayden is one of the guys who inspired me to play that shot that I walked down the wicket. But I think the rivalry is going to be intense. I want to go back to 2007 and remind you,
that makes him score runs, that makes him find areas against India to play.
Well, he kind of reminds us as cricketers of how we used to play in the backyard. Just mum in the background saying, come in, do your homework. We go, no, mum, we're having too much fun in this format of the game, but it's when he gets runs. Can he have the fire in his belly to challenge someone like Mohammad Shami, who has got fire in his belly as well? He's missed out through the Border Gavaskar Trophy, and he wants to have that taste of blood today here in Dubai. And then you see the other two impact players there, Steve Smith, who's been the natural leader, generational leader, in fact, for the Australian cricket team. Hasn't had the opportunity because of obvious reasons, but you could tell the way that he manipulates the field, rotates his bowlers, gets involved in play. He's a key today for sure. And Maxwell, well, he can just go about doing Maxwell things like no other.
We've seen it. We'll break it down. So surely India has got to have a game plan as well. I mean, Travis Head, it all starts from Travis Head. He's got big match temperaments. What could the game plan be against him?
About India's success. You get them out early, India gives themselves a better chance of winning this game. There's another thorn in the flesh in his setup, but if you can hit the right areas early doors, there's a chance of getting him out. And the minute you want to stick to those areas, you want to be able to be as accurate as possible, hit those areas as often as possible to give yourself the best chance to get him out. Because if you don't get him out early, he's going to be a headache, guys.
Well, I'll give you how big the area has to be.
Oh, no. A little bit bigger than that, guys.
It's about that big. It's just on the top of off stump. And I'm serious. He strikes away at 70 strike rate in that. You get outside that zone. You saw how destructive he can be back of a length where Indian bowlers will need to operate today. So unless you're hitting that spot, he flays away to the offside. If you get too straight to him, he's awesome there as well for that pick-up shot. So
Steve Smith, in that leadership role, knows India extremely well. There have been questions about form, about the manner of runs, but on this wicket here, is consolidation what you're expecting from Steve Smith?
Okay, before you take off, I want to weigh in on this because I think this is key here. I think Stephen Smith has been a born leader for Australia. Being a leader within the group, I think that makes him a very dangerous batter for Australia.
Yeah, good point. I do believe that there was that period where he was shell-shocked. I think the whole of the Australian cricket team.
I mean, his strike rate against the spinners is over 140 against Indian spinners. Yes, the average might be under because, he has this version of going against the spinners. Australia might just have to go to a Spencer Johnson or something to put a little pressure on Rohit early on.
Well, they've chosen Spencer Johnson for exactly that reason in the absence of Mitchell Starc, who just worked over Rohit Sharma. Didn't
already his 51st in this competition, spoke about the role of consolidation, spoke around rotating strike when challenges are tough, which means that, of course, he will come up against spin and a key weapon in Adam Zampa, and therein lies our big battle.
He creates great And if India miss, well then he's in the money.
It's always about spinners in these conditions. Over both gentlemen are in agreement that things have changed a little bit. Imagine playing your second one-dayer and getting a fifer, very much so. Varun Chakra. Average first innings that we've seen here. What are your perceptions today, gentlemen?
240, 250, absolutely par, no question. That's historically and statistically, but it's a semi-final. You know, so...
Final, I think it's a much better wicket than the previous games we've witnessed here. I think it's going to be a little bit more fresher, and the fact there's a little bit more grass on it, I think it'll hold up pretty well. Maybe a little less turn than previous games, but I think it's a solid wicket for 280.
Rohit Sharma has to win a toss now. 13 consecutive lost tosses. So a lot of that just depends on what the opposition captain has to think as well. But we haven't seen any dew, so that certainly is an update, and that is probably why Ravi is saying it doesn't make a difference as to what you do first, what the playing 11s will be in this knockout. Let's find out as we go to both captains for the toss. Travis Head to be doing as well. Ravi, thank you for that. 14 consecutive lost tosses for Team India. That's outstanding, Robbie. They've tried everything. It just hasn't worked. But as expected, a change to Australia's lineup. They bolstered their spin attack. No changes to India.
Not the toss, I think they'd be...
Who are top 3 players would be in this contest. Not these top 3 players, but the top 3 picks as far as this contest is concerned. On the toss, batting first. Is it a psychological advantage when you don't know the conditions as well in knockouts? That's what we've always been told.
It's lovely to see India go to 14 as a number of losses. That's unbelievable.
That's only toss is Haydos.
That aspect. That was the aspect that Haydos would focus on.
Folks, did you see how easy that was?
This is mental disintegration at its finest. This is how it's done. Ask a different question, get a different answer.
Well, AB used to always say, the great Alan Border that is, lose the toss, win the game. So it doesn't make that much of a difference. Australia will be happy. I think they'll want to make the use of that wicket. It looks very good. We saw how well India was able to put New Zealand under pressure with the ball. Those spinners really coming into play, and actually spins more at night here, which is an interesting fact. Not exactly sure why, but I suppose the air is very dense at night, but it's still very dry. So that advantage, even I was playing golf last night, sorry to brag a little bit, but playing golf last night, I noticed that my club was 1 club shorter at night. And what that means is that in terms of cricket is just how accessible these boundaries are. We know we've got the longer boundary on one side, a little more accessible to the offsider if you're looking down the ground. But what that does mean is that there's some doubt, so I think Australia will be very happy with that. Their batting side, which is their strength, a little more unknown with the ball, will be able to put maybe the total that you're talking about on the board. They get anywhere near that. Bat the other night, in particular the bat, he played a Maxwell type strike rate performance, sort of ground his way into the first part and then came home with a flourish, and that made all the difference in setting up that total for New Zealand to chase down. So I think that'll be their roles. Do they take on the new ball? We all understand how important those first 10 overs are. If they can somehow create a few doubts, talking the mind games, inside those 10 overs for the Team India, and spin and seam have taken equal amount of wickets, but
60 wickets already, 1 day rest after that semi-final. He has a huge role to play. India has the option of bowlers. We've Naxar as well being used in the power play. How do you feel Rohit will go about it against his opening partnership?
He's going to look to seam the ball away from Travis Head and try and induce an edge, or try and hit the top of the off stump and try and get him bowled. I think those are the couple of options that Shami will use against Head. As far as Hardik Pandya is concerned, again, swing the ball a little bit, but Aksar could come in the first 10 overs, could be used in the first 10.
Big match players, huge expectations there on Mohammad Shami, but he is up to the task, a champion of style, as Sanjay Banga explains more. Thank you, Sanjay. We do understand that Australia will approach those middle overs knowing they'll have to take on India's plethora of spinners. The mystery of Varun Chakravarti, it's still very much a mystery to Australia. Could he be key here?
Yeah, I think it. So you try and play the big shot down the ground and you never seem to quite catch it. And that's under pressure as well. Something that obviously India will want to try and do to Australia. Try and get their key players straight away under pressure.
Should we put him under pressure and make him come up with the predictions for the first 10 overs?
Yes.
Robbie's up to the task. Aggressive opening from Robbie.
Bang.
Come on, Robbie.
I'm for it. I think the first 10 overs, I'm going to say 55 for 2.
Oh, yes.
And Travis had gone in that.
I'm going to shave just one off that. Just one off it, folks. And I'm going to go 60 for 1.
60 for 1. Whatever it is, the toughest rivalry reignited and this competition. They remain undefeated in Dubai. They have managed to successfully chase down what has been a record total here. And who else? It is a chase master who has led the way. He's got 8,000 runs in just chases, over 14,000 one-day runs. Let's hear from the man. He's got 1050 plus scores in those knockouts as well. And just speaking to Robin Uthappa about the chase, what he enjoyed the most in his innings was the timing and those partnerships. We saw one, with burgeoning with Shreyas. We saw one with KL as well. It's about sustaining pressure at every phase of that innings, of that chase, which is what India mastered today.
And that was what it was going to be. I think it was going to be about who handles pressure better. I think India handled pressure really well.
I mean, looked about 7 bowling options that Australia did utilize. You look at the breakdown of the innings as well. Robbie mentioned it is about
Just a phenomenal knock.
And it was, you spoke about the partnerships just being supplemented. Once again, in these phases, it's like the form is literally carried over from the 2023 World Cup, and that is Shreyas Iyer. Shreyas Iyer's importance, his clarity of thought, his adaptability to different kinds of bowlings, and also supplementing and building partnerships, Ravi.
I'm telling you, at that point when Shreyas and Virat were batting, I actually felt Shreyas was batting a lot more in control. I think the Champions Trophy, that this guy is really underrated. He's flying under the radar with his performances. He's got 2 50s. There would have been 3 back-to-back 50s if he got a 50 today. But the knocks that he plays at number 4 are crucial. India's success even in the next game.
There's a lot of work on the footwork that he's done, Shreyas. In terms of his trigger movements, what are the changes that you've noticed from him?
Well, I think with the spinners it was always good. There was never really a problem. I think in his mind he's slowed down a lot of things. He's slowed down the process where he's taking his time. He's got clarity about that short ball. He knows how he wants to deal with it, and then he's going about his business with that conviction, which is why seeing him play as well as he is. I think the level of clarity he's had, even if people agree with him or don't agree with him, has been very, very clear. He's been very clear about, okay, this is how I want to go about my business. You don't agree with me, it's fine. And if you want to punish me for something, fine. But I will stick to what works for me, and that's worked for him, whether it's as a player,
Reunion happened for a little bit. Very well played today, KL, just in terms of sustaining pressure. We were talking about the chases in that innings, the significant partnerships in that innings. It was all, but how did you manage to keep the pressure within yourselves, pace the innings? What were the conversations with Virat, the conversations with Hardik?
When I walked in and Virat was set, so I just asked him how the wicket was played and be there till the end. So I told Virat that you feed me the strike and I'll try to take some chances, and I did that, and then unfortunately lost Virat, and then Hardik came in, and it was a wicket where it was very hard for the batters who walk into opening the batting in Australia in test matches and having to face that attack harder, and I opened the batting there, and then to come here and bat low. This is how I've played white ball cricket in the last 4-5 years, so I'm quite used to going up and down the order. So I'm just happy getting a chance to play in the middle, and whatever role is given, I think it's really helped me understand my game a lot more, and I've had to work on boundary hitting a lot more in the last year or so, because the last ODI we played in Sri Lanka, I batted at number 6, so I knew that that's where I'll be batting, and needed a left-hander in the top order. So I knew when I walk in, the pressure is going to be much higher. I might need to hit a lot more boundaries than rotate the strike. So I worked hard on hitting boundaries, and I'm enjoying whatever opportunity comes.
And
does it bother you that when you're batting there, when you go into situations, because in this tournament you've gone to every game where there's a little bit of pressure to deal with, right? And that's not something that you've done your entire career, so to speak, right up to maybe a couple of years from now. But how does that feel for you?
Honestly, I mean, it's since I think 2020 I've batted at number 5, and a lot of times people forget that that's where I've been batting, and every time I perform in a series and then there's a break from ODI cricket, and then we come back after 4 or 5 months, there's question mark again about, oh well, will he play in the 11, where does he fit? And sometimes I'm sitting there thinking, what more can I do? Everywhere that I've been asked to play, I've played, and I feel like I have performed my role. Whatever's been told to me by Rohit. Rohit's been the captain for the last 4 or 5 years, and whatever he's told me, I feel like I've done that to the best of my ability, and I know that Rohit feels the same, and he's always supported me and backed me with that. So there's that confidence going into game that the captain has my back, and yeah, like I said, I mean, I just like to bat. Whether it's 30 balls, there's fun in batting 30 balls as well, which I don't get to like face when I'm opening the batting. You don't know how to handle that pressure. You don't know how much your wicket really matters. One wrong shot, and you might cost the team, the country, the game. So
those visuals as well, making the final of the Champions Trophy, getting over, Australia's a tough team, the expressions, the emotions. You had a small conversation with Virat also just as he got out. You wanted, what was that about? You have a very close relationship with him as well over the years.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, when I walked in and when I
what are the adjustments that you've made in these conditions in Dubai in particular?
Yeah, it's been challenging. I'm sure I'm going to be slow, and we played here before as well, so we knew the conditions, so I had made a mental note. But again, being there under pressure sometimes not so easy, and yeah, I've been challenged a lot behind the stumps, and the spinners. We've played 4 spinners now, so that's become even harder for me. And all of them, totally different, and they're very hard to keep. Varun, I'm still not able to read them.
To be fair, not many people can read it, including the opposition. We're fine with that.
Yeah. So it's been hard. Yeah.
Very well played today as well. Congratulations for reaching the final, and looking forward to more from that. If you can catch up with Robbie and maybe give him a little advice about that moustache, because the jury is still out. On that note, we'll have a look at the presentation.
Yes, first of all,
Idol Sachin Tendulkar, who was on 69, Matthew Hayden and Robin Uthappa as well. Hey Ross, I haven't had a chance to talk to you about the chase, the results, teetering at an edge. Hey Ross had a lot to say to us in the pre-show,
I know.
In the mid-show. The floor is yours.
Here we go, folks. No, great. It was a great night. I thought admirable performance from Australia, considering just how big a losses they had with their playing roster. You can't lose 5, 6 players and really think that you're a chance, but they believed, didn't they? And they made India really work hard for it. The turning point, as we just heard from Steve Smith, was him getting out. 197 was the total, and then Maxi coming in with Axar Patel smashing him for a big 6 and getting out the next ball. So, that was really the submerged log. Put another 20 runs on this total, and it would have been, a much tighter game. Great game, but well-deserved India.
Yeah.
It was just that throw.
India run for its
Catching efficiency, 82% prior to this match. And Australia always operates under this defensive model. You might think that it's a very attacking mindset in finals, but what it does do really well is it holds its chances. Rohit Sharma, while he didn't go on and really damage Australia, he did enough.
Yeah.
And then Virat Kohli as well. Cooper Conley's sort of near miss, and then Maxwell's, would have been an enormous grab. So those little things, they make a big difference, especially when you're thinking about only par scores. Had it have been something more than that, and it just made their lives that little bit more difficult. You imagine Virat Kohli, I think he was about 50 at the time.
Yeah.
And that's Scoreboard would feel a long way away. That chase would become very difficult.
And it's all about moments, right, in these sort of matches that are so intense. So you had Hardik Pandya coming on, playing 4 dot balls, the pressure is building, then the release with a big shot, then the release with another one. And that speaks to his big match temperament. You look back throughout India's run so far, Hardik with the bat or the ball very much living up to that all-rounder potential that he had been identified for at the big stage.
That number 6.
Foils to each other as far as India's batting is concerned ever since the last World Cup as well. You've seen India being able to bat deep and just translate pressure onto each other. So there you go. They made it to the final of the Champions Trophy up against Arch.
This match, and I thought India were red-hot favourites, even though I gave a bit of a bravado to you two. Tomorrow, I'm very unconvinced because they're two extremely complete sides. There's not too much you look at in either teams that you go, well, there's a real point of difference. I kind of sense that it's South Africa's time. I hope no one in South Africa is watching, being a Southern brothers, but I think that New Zealand also, they have a complete side, but do they have an informed side? If Rachin Ravindra starts to really get going tomorrow on a good track, I think it will go that way, but I genuinely think that South Africa are red-hot favourites in that match.
You can understand it. South Africa, even in under-19s, have just been making a habit of reaching finals. So you can understand where that's coming from. India reaching the final, one more step closer to getting their hands on that coveted trophy. And this is not where it ends when it comes to getting your hands on a trophy. Another couple of weeks, the Tata IPL begins across our networks and Jio Hotstar as well. And there are a few others who are wearing the blue of India, who will be wearing the blue of Mumbai, who are looking to claim the 7th.